Here we roll into day three. Three, right? Day three. Day four? Yeah, I guess we did show up on Sunday. Anyway, day three here at SEC Media Days. A big thank you out of the gate to all of our fine sponsors that you heard right there. Woody Anderson Ford and Adams, Eagle Masonry and Insulation, Bob Wallace Appliance, and Chapman Commercial Realty.
Man, all great companies. Please support these guys. They're the reason we're able to go the places we do and bring the content we do back to you guys, and really good people. All the people that are involved with those companies, and
a tip of the cap to the Furniture Factory, who sponsored us yesterday.
Absolutely.
As well as coming up tomorrow, even though it will be a little bit of a hodgepodge tomorrow, being the last day. There's a lot to get to on the last day. There's
right.
The buzz here along Radio Row is how this thing is ending. But a big thank you to Baumhauer's Victory Grill as well for sponsoring us here along Radio Row. So, yeah, that is kind of the buzz of what kind of questions that Dirt Neck, a.k.a. Jimbo Fisher, is going to receive.
I mean, and it's everybody talking about it. I mean, I think the reporters are there were a lot of after his press conference.
Yeah, the knee-jerk one.
The law made a lot of accusations, and there were going to be a lot of questions about it.
Yeah.
Finally. Hopefully. That's what the word on the street is. So we'll see.
We'll see whether or not it actually.
Is Drew going to try to ask a question?
Yes.
Why is nicknames Dirt Neck? What does it mean?
I don't think he knows that his nickname is Dirt Neck.
Yeah, well, I know.
Something tells me he could come up with an answer.
That's been kind of the debate among us in our off time, is what Dirt Neck really means.
What? So you know what? The shorthand of Drew Yarman. I don't know half of his shorthand anyway.
We had a big conversation about it. I was more listening. I was kind of in the conversation, shaking my head. So anyway, looking forward to him tomorrow, no question. Interesting, Billy Napier here with Florida. A lot of Florida fans downstairs, was kind of surprised.
Almost as many as Georgia fans that were here this morning.
But there were a lot more press here for Georgia, obviously, being the proximity. So the place was kind of packed more than it was yesterday. Usually we're in Hoover, Alabama is crazy. Wasn't as crazy. Although the press here, there are not many Wall Street Journal reporters go to SEC Media Days.
No, and she sat right next to Drew Yarman yesterday.
Wish somebody videotaped that.
And Drew did tell me he did get her number. So, yeah.
Interesting. So, anyway.
As Wes would say, roll tide.
Yeah. So, they I don't know where that's going. They got a middle picture. Threw me off.
Coming up on the program today. Now, we didn't get a chance to hear from Buki yesterday. We are indeed going to hear from Buki today. A very good, entertaining.
Maplesville, Alabama,
That's
plays
right.
for Mississippi State, and is just
entertaining listen.
Very entertaining listen, and a very good football player.
Yeah, that is going to come up in hour number 2. Nathaniel Watson, the senior linebacker from Maplesville, Alabama. Also coming up in hour number 2. He was here today, and he sat down with us. He is the senior quarterback from Madison, Connecticut. Will Levis from the University of Kentucky sat down with us.
A lot of people think he'd be the first quarterback taken. I mean,
big hands.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very well-spoken, and you could see that
coach speak. He's
yeah. But you can definitely tell a seasoned type of individual. And also coming up in hour number 2, a conversation we had with Ian Fitzsimmons from ESPN Radio. You hear him nightly right here on our station with Freddie Coleman and Ian Fitzsimmons. I
didn't know that that he was a Southern guy.
Went to Bama.
Went to Bama. Had no idea.
Yeah. His first beat was the Crimson and White with some guy named Gene Stallings as the head football coach at the University of Alabama. Mike Griffith stopped by for a visit, and it was a rather lengthy visit.
Very entertaining.
Yes.
I think he likes me getting on him a little bit.
Actually, I bumped into him in the hallway, and he did mention of everything that he does that he has the most fun with us. I don't know. I took that as a compliment. But let's get to some sound bites from today, if I can. And first up this morning was indeed Kirby Smart. Jordy Arman asked a question to Kirby Freeze.
Coach Jordy Arman, WZZN Radio, Huntsville, Alabama. I know you worked with him extensively at the University of Alabama, and then 2 years ago you brought Scott Cochran with you. You guys had a very close personal relationship. I know he had to take a step away from your program. He tweeted something out personally on July the 4th about meaning even more than the national championship rings he's won at Alabama and Georgia and being 1 year sober. What does he mean to your program, and how did you guys support him to help him come back and now be a big part of your program?
Well, we commit to having conversations, and the commitment to Scott was that he's committed to our program and getting better. And you look at what he's done with our players, I don't think you'd find – we got a lot of exceptional people in our organization. Jonas Jennings, Bryant Gant, Scott Sinclair. I could go on forever. But Scott Cochran spends a tremendous amount of time with our players on a personal level. And they value the relationship that he creates with them. He spends time with them, meaningful time with them. And I think a lot of our players saw the human side with Scott, and that we all know addiction is real, and it probably affected me as the leader of the organization for the first time to have someone on your staff be involved with that. And I got a lot of help from outside sources on how to do it. And I'm so proud of what he's done and how he's fought back to bring himself back and be the husband and father that he's always been. And he's a tremendous husband and father, and that's first. And he's a mentor to the players on our team. And he's got tons of players that played at Alabama that still reach out to him and talk to him. They come and work out at our place and come see him because they value that relationship that he had with them. And he's a special person that's meant a lot to a lot of people. So we've stood there by him and supported him, and we'll continue to do that.
That is Kirby Smart from
awesome
earlier
story,
today.
really.
Yeah.
Here's a guy, Moffitt, another Moffitt guy. Went to LSU, was under Moffitt, won a national championship with LSU with Coach Saban. He was the top assistant, brought him over from LSU, wins championships at Alabama, now has one at Georgia.
Rings all over the place.
Yes. And he said the most thing he's proud of was the 1 year sober coin, and had all the rings around it, and said, "This is what I'm most proud of." I think that says a lot. Build people up, tear them down. That's what a lot of the press does. We're all guilty of that, really, in some sort. But when something like this happens, just to me, it adds more. To me, I respect Cochran for what he's done in the past, but what he just did, I respect him more.
My question to Kirby Smart was more about where Kirby started his coaching career, and that is Valdosta State University. The head coach then was Chris Hatcher, and Chris Hatcher is at Samford, and second on the schedule this year for the University of Georgia is Samford.
Over here on the right side on the far aisle. Steve.
Hey, Coach. Steve Moulton, WZZN from Huntsville, Alabama. I notice second game of the year you're playing Samford.
Come on, Internet. Come on. Are we at least connected? Brother. Thank you, Smokey Mike. Anyway, it was...
he must be having Mexican tonight.
Well, this ain't good. But nonetheless, Kirby Smart gave me a very thoughtful answer about cutting his teeth in Valdosta, and I will try to cue that up if I can and able to. But also later on in the day, Billy Napier, as you mentioned already, Wes. Here's a little bit of the opening comments from the first-year Gator coach.
This group, I think they've got a chip on their shoulder. They're excited about the opportunity to earn some respect. You know, reality is in college football, 25 to 30% every year you're going to have attrition. And you're always a work in progress, whether it's year 1 or it's year 10. You know, I've been very pleased with the offseason. You know, each phase, it's the first time we've done it at a new place with a new group of people, and we're learning together. We're currently finishing up week 8 of 9-week program in the summer. It's important that we finish strong, and that's the focus. We want to try to create momentum for training camp. You know, this group has embraced the work. You know, I'm proud of our team. You know, this team's not scared. They're tough. They love to compete. When you put the ball down, they're about it. And I'm excited about training camp. You know, the next 40 days will be critical. We're going to work hard on developing the personality, the identity of this team, the daily approach, right? The self-discipline, the habit, the choices, focus that's required to be an exceptional player and have an exceptional team, and ultimately build habits. You know, we're excited here as we approach training camp. We're going to move into the Hevner football training facility. It's an $85 million complex. It's 140,000 square feet, and I think if not one of the best, it may be the best in the entire country, and it will help us, you know, as we move forward building the program. We've got a very challenging schedule, obviously in the SEC East, to go along with LSU and A&M as a crossover West opponents. Top 10 Pac-12 champ Utah comes to town for the home opener, and we're on the road at Florida State on a Friday night. It's a 6-day turnaround, and then we play South Florida and Eastern Washington in non-conference play as well. I want you to know we're very appreciative of the media and all the things that you do to contribute to the game, the great stories that you tell, right, about people, about teams, your pen, your keyboard, your lens, your camera, whatever the case may be. You know, this game will teach you a lot if you'll let it, and we're thankful for the stories that you tell about it.
That is Billy Napier in part of his opening comments today. I did want to rewind back, and something that came out late last night from Josh Pate, late kick, had a sit-down with Nick Saban, and I think a very interesting idea moving forward that Coach Saban has about bowl eligibility, Wes Neighbors. I'd like to get your comments on this.
I think a lot of folks love watching Alabama football. People don't get so stoked when they wake up on a Saturday morning and know Bama's favored by 48 today. And I've heard you talk a little bit lately about how you don't prefer that either. You want games that people want to see, but you can't just snap your fingers and make it happen. So,
right. All right. If attendance goes down, then how does that impact us in a positive way? So to play quality games is the most important thing. All right, but our rules don't enhance us playing quality games because you got to have a winning record to get in the bowl game. Why don't we do it like basketball? Have some rating system that even if you went 5-7, but you played a really good schedule and you beat some pretty good teams, you could go to a bowl game, rather than trying to create a schedule where you play 4 teams that you know you're going to beat, and if I can just win 2 other games, I'll be bowl eligible. And that's important to my program. And it's important to me keeping my job. All right, so, but how about the fans? Do they want to go see these games? So, you know, it was, I don't know how many years ago, 6, 8 years ago, I said, why don't we play 9 games in the SEC? All right, now they're talking about playing 9 in the future. I'm saying, why don't we play 10?
That is a little bit of Coach Saban with Josh Pate.
It's hard to argue. You know, I have my reasons why, and I've talked about it, about the money and everything. And but he's right. I mean, if attendance starts going down, then the school starts losing money or losing interest. And you look at the fact that but even more right is they already have the system in place, right? That ranks these schools.
Yes. but he's talking more of making rewarding people, one, for playing a tough schedule, and
Right.
two, if
they
you
already
are
have the
5
rankings.
and 7,
Yeah, they already have the rankings.
Yeah.
So if you played and you're ranked ahead, you're 5 and 7, and you played a good schedule, and you're in the top 30, you ought to go to a bowl game. Or how many, I think the top 80 go into bowl games now. But I get that. I think that's Coach Saban's.
it's a very good idea.
Yeah,
It's a very good idea.
Yes, I think so too.
All right, so I think I have it queued up. Here is what Kirby Smart had to say about playing Samford and what was a little bit of a reunion with Coach Hatcher.
Okay, we're going to go over here on the right side on the far aisle. Steve.
Hey, Coach. Steve Moulton, WZZN from Huntsville, Alabama. I noticed second game of the year you're playing Samford and Coach Hatcher as well. If you could talk about your experiences at Valdosta State in the Gulf South Conference and kind of coming full circle, if you will, in Game 2.
Well, how long you got? Because I could tell you about a 20-hour bus ride I took to Arkadelphia. I could tell you about Texarkana. I can tell you about all the different places I went in Mississippi that I didn't know existed. But it's where I cut my teeth as a coach. And there were some really long bus rides. We built our own lockers. I was hired for $5,000, and he later promoted me to $10,000 after I did academics and did a salary cap on Division II, which you work off equivalencies. You don't have full rides. I learned a lot while I worked at Valdosta State, and you only learn trial by fire. And I certainly appreciate Coach Hatcher for giving me that opportunity. He's at Samford, which is my father's alma mater. My dad played at Samford and was a college football player there, so it's always unique when we get to play Samford because my dad gets to pull for his old school. And Hatcher's a good friend, and he's done a tremendous job.
Built your own lockers.
Yeah.
Built your own lockers.
I don't believe his dad will be pulling for his old school when Georgia plays.
You don't think so?
I think he'd be pulling for his old son.
Now, if you want to be thoroughly entertained from the main media room, we had it yesterday with the Pirate, and we had it today with Sam Pittman. I mean, if you just want 30 minutes of just pure entertainment, I did get an opportunity to ask a question to Coach Pittman, and it was revolved around the wide receiver core and Malik Hornsby, two key pieces of a Hog team coming off of a 9-win season.
Hey, Coach. Steve Moulton, WZZN. Hope you're doing well. Wide receiver position in particular, if you could evaluate that for me, Coach, and also the role that Malik Hornsby could play on this team.
Yeah, well, I think, obviously the unsaid thing there was Burks, losing Traylon Burks. And I don't know you replace a guy 1 for 1. I don't think you can, there. So we're going to have to do it by committee. I like a couple of the guys we've gotten in the portal, and Matt Landers and Jaden Hazelwood. But I think Keytron Jackson is going to have his best year. I think he's ready to go. Warren Thompson's ready to go. Bryce Stevens has improved. I like who we signed out of the freshman class. It's still yet to be determined whether they can, help us or not. Isaiah Sertana, Sam Bakke, and Quincy McAdoo. They've all had good off season, or one had off season in summer. But we're going to have to do it by committee. I'll say this: we look like a wide receiver group. We run like a wide receiver group. KJ is going to have to get comfortable with where these guys are going to be, and he has to get comfortable with their speed and the way they run their routes and all those things. But I think we're going to have to replace Burks by committee. That was certainly probably the number one thing offensively that was concerning. Along with Malik, we have used him at wide receiver. He's fast. He has natural ball skills. We need to get him on the field. If he doesn't beat KJ out in fall camp, he needs to be on the field. He's fast. He's up to 190 pounds now. He can withstand the heat and hits, physicality. But the other thing that helped us is Cade Fortin. So getting Cade Fortin in at quarterback allows us a little bit to move Malik Hornsby out and look at him at wideout. But he's a good enough player. He needs to be on the field. So he's certainly got a chance to help us there as well.
That is Coach Sam Pittman, and KJ Jefferson was in the house.
Yeah, so they're hurting at wide receiver. We've heard this from many people. They lost a lot of production, and as he said, there's no way to replace it except for as a group. And they got two guys. They kind of I'm prefacing what he said. They got two guys, and the other guy's the quarterback, and they got to get him on the field. So no question he'll be playing wide receiver. He's talking if he gets because KJ's not getting beat out.
Yeah. And by the way, KJ here, I mean, awfully impressive.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's a specimen, no doubt. We'll see how he grows. Arkansas was better, obviously, than they've been, but they had a long way to go to get to the next step.
One other topic that was broached to Sam Pittman, and it's amazing how just flipping the switch, we have become so talking gambling and numbers is not that big of a deal. Even in the main media room, when this was brought up of Arkansas's record against the spread under Sam Pittman.
In front of me, about midway back.
Hey, Coach, Drew Barrett, ESPN Arkansas. I know you talk about how you like to be an underdog, but this is your third year at Arkansas, the first time you're not being picked to finish 7th in the SEC West. Doesn't it feel kind of good to be recognized for the success that you and your players have had? And how's it been different this season where you're actually getting, credit from a lot of people?
I said when I got the head coaching job that the only decisions that I'd make, they would not concern public opinion. That way, if we win as a group, and if we lose, and I get fired because I did it like I wanted to. So obviously you can't live in a cave and not hear what people say about you or predictions and all that stuff. But if that's the only driving force that you have, you're gonna lose. If that's the only driving force to be good, you're gonna lose. So if we can keep our core values of let's go outwork people, let's out tough people, let's be the hardest playing team in football. I don't know if we are or not. That's the goal, and that, by the way, that's the expectation. Then whatever people may say, everybody has a mouth, everybody has an opinion. Some of them, the opinions are worthy and some aren't. But so I'm going to let our football team, myself, drive what we need to accomplish, and if we do, the kids and the coaching staff did a great job. If we don't, I screwed it up.
That is a little bit more there from Sam Pittman. So what was edited out there was the beginning of, hey, Coach, you were 16-6 against the spread, and Sam Pittman stopped and said, "Go Hogs."
Well, you got to win. If you're an underdog and you cover and you lose, they don't care. There's no asterisks by the loss column, right?
Indeed. Let's go ahead and take our first time out. Day 3 of SEC Media Days continues. West neighbors, Steve Moulton back here with you, winding down day 3 of SEC Media Days. Did you get your email from the SEC office?
I haven't looked. For voting?
Voting.
Yeah. I need to get
You
that.
have until, let's see here, where is it? You have until tomorrow at 5 o'clock
Well, I'll get it done
Central,
tomorrow then.
Central Time. Real time. Real time,
Birmingham
baby.
time.
Real time. Look forward to getting back to the
I
homestead.
think this media days has gone by fast, though. John agrees with me. What do you think? No, maybe not.
Well, I mean, trust me, when you do morning and afternoon, it wears on you a little bit. But I mean,
but
we've moved.
We have more. We've done more interviews for longer. I mean, it's because I think it's when you interview somebody for the first time, and especially if they got their little agent that acts like Hitler to you. I mean, then you get 5 minutes and that's it.
Acts like what?
I mean, they're just so strict, you know. And they start hitting their finger. They start hitting their wrist with their finger, like it's time to. And then it's like the guest almost looks like, well, why'd you cut me off?
Yeah.
I mean, they just want to sit there and talk. But the guys that we've been interviewing for a long time that just come up here, like Chris.
Yeah, Chris Doring stopped by that we're probably going to play on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, such a, just entertaining to talk to, and he enjoys it, and we enjoy it, and the back and forth. I loved my goal was to put Griffith, Mike Griffin, on the defensive from the get-go. Because you get more.
Do you think you accomplished
Oh
that
yeah,
fact?
for a minute he started sweating. He was over there shaking.
Now, when he said JT, I know I'm kind of spoiling a little bit of this interview that I'm going to play later on in the
he
show.
still thinks JT should have been playing.
He thought JT Daniels was the difference in the Clemson game.
Wasn't the pick six the difference in the
yeah.
Well, I mean, I wasn't going to.
No, as soon as he said that, I was just like.
I had more of a problem when he said that Coach Saban was too old and was done, and he said that over and I let it go a little bit, but I wanted to make my point. He knew what I was saying. So because some of his stuff is ridiculous. I think it's to get coverage. Like when he goes on the Feinbaum.
Oh yeah,
but
100%.
But hey, listen, they've won a national championship. Tennessee was there, Georgia, Alabama. You start looking at this. That's pretty. Why he's covering. That's pretty salty there.
Kentucky was also featured today down in the main media room. Drew DeArmond, our man on the scene, had this to say to Coach Stoops.
Coach, we're going to go straight in front of me here, 3 rows back.
Yes, Coach Stoops, Drew DeArmond, WZZN Radio, Huntsville, Alabama. I wanted to ask you about a couple of newcomers to your program. One young man I was able to personally watch and then interview that you signed was from Pearl-Cohn High School in Nashville, Berrien Brown. I think he could add an explosive element to your offense. And I also wanted to ask about a transfer portal addition that I had a chance to cover in high school. He was a late bloomer in football. He only played 2 years, but Dee Beckwith from Tennessee, what kind of role do you kind of envision for him as a jumbo athlete?
Yeah, 2 different guys with Berrien, just has all the tools. Super excited about him. Was just talking with Will on the plane on the way down here, discussing it a little bit, and Will mentioned it right away how special Berrien is with the ball in his hands, and can do some special things and has a lot of juice. So we really got to get him caught up. He just got on campus, a couple weeks ago, and so need to get him plugged in and get the ball in his hands, because he's a total playmaker, and we're very excited about that. And then with D, he is a large athlete. He's a big boy, and he's a guy that can confuse you at times because he can play so many different positions. But that's the nice thing. That's what Rich really liked about him, and we liked about him as a staff, was that we could be very multiple with him. And Rich, if you watch the 49ers in the past and some of the creativity and some different things we could use with a big guy like that could play wide out, he could play some H-back, just different things. So we'll move him around.
That is Coach Stoops with Trudy Arman. I had a chance to ask Coach. It was the very last question of, after hearing all the back and forth for the full 30 minutes, I just had one thought on my mind, and it was this question.
Okay, we have time for one more. We're going to go over here to the right alongside the far aisle.
And WCZN from Huntsville, what do you have about this team heading into fall drills?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it was brought up. I think, we have to have some playmakers step up at the wide receiver position because we have a beast of a quarterback. We have to get some playmakers to step up and compete, and we're going to have to depend on a few younger guys there, and the older guys need to continue to step up. And then, just consistency. Anything that we've done, well in the past doesn't mean it automatically carries over. We have to go out and prove it. We have to earn it. We have to stay hungry and, compete our tail off to take it to another level.
He is one win away from tying Bear Bryant as the all-time winningest coach.
How many years was Coach Bryant there?
I don't know that offhand.
I won't believe it's that long.
I don't think it was 10 years.
No, I don't either.
I don't think it was 10 years. But he did mention that.
That's still great. I mean, I'm happy for he's done a great job, and he's made Kentucky relevant again. And
he said he'll be happy for his mom when it happens, because there'll be two Stoops that have the most wins at two Power 5 programs: Bob Stoops at Oklahoma and Mark Stoops at Kentucky.
Well, that is absolutely cool.
Our conversation with Mike Griffith comes up next after our second time out. Let's go ahead and do that right now, Smokey Mike. We'll be right back. I thought you got rid of filler. This is filler 2, brother. I I need 19 minutes and 12 seconds. Minutes and 12 seconds. I need to come back. Our conversation with Mike Griffith earlier today.
Mike Griffith, how are you, sir?
Doing well, thanks, man.
It's Georgia Day. The defending champs are here in Atlanta.
Wait a minute. I thought Alabama won the SEC last year, Wes.
We did.
All right, you mean the defending national?
Yeah.
Defending national.
Okay, we need to qualify that.
Yeah.
All right.
What was your takeaway of what Kirby had to say?
Boy, he's trying hard to be an underdog. He is trying hard. He is reaching. Y'all doubt Stetson Bennett. Coach, he was the MVP of the national championship game in the Orange Bowl. How is that disrespectful?
But there's a lot of people that wanted to bench him, and including you, after the SEC championship game.
I thought that JT Daniels would have given Georgia a better chance to beat Alabama.
You know, and really, I never watched him practice, so I would never know. But the first game, to me, Stetson Bennett didn't play so bad. He just didn't have time to throw the ball. And he's not a guy that you can throw the whole game on his back and win.
Well, I mean, I think the trick is this. I mean, Kirby likes consistency. You know, you saw it, early on. Jacob Eason and Jake Fromm. I mean, Eason got hurt. Fromm came in. He stuck with Jake. And JT was the guy. JT came out of here last year as the Heisman Trophy favorite. JT was beat up and played in a flak jacket against Clemson, but when he played against South Carolina, I mean, he lit some teams up. I mean, they were a different team. They were a spread team, more like the kind of team Arch Manning wanted to play for, right? 3-4 wide, quarterback makes the read. JT was about 70% on third down throws. Stetson, different quarterback, different scheme, mobility, RPO, tight end, more screens, more play action, downfield shot plays.
You gotta love to be a tight end playing for him.
Oh, you gotta love being a play. But the point is, I felt like against Alabama, you needed a more dynamic offense because Bama can neutralize that run game. And quite frankly, I didn't think Stetson or the offense was particularly good against Bama in either football game.
Right. Well, I will say this.
Not for 4 quarters, at least. For one quarter, he was.
1 quarter. But it was a quarter that Alabama had beaten Georgia every time for the last 5 times.
Sure.
And at the end of the game, after Stetson Bennett was knocked around like I've never seen in a game, in that Alabama game for three quarters.
The national championship.
In the national championship game. They knocked him around. They got to him. They sacked him, before
5 times?
5 times. But once was before the last throw, it was 2nd and 18 for the touchdown pass, which in my opinion turned the game. But really it started turning right before that, and it's because Georgia was able to run the ball. My whole point is those kids believed in him, or they wouldn't have been fighting so hard for him in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, I think they believed in all their quarterbacks. I don't think it was, this quarterback or that quarterback. I think it was more like it's whoever coach is putting back there. I think they found something with Stetson with that RPO, Brock Bowers, and Kirby doesn't want to play musical chairs. You don't want to keep switching back and forth. It's not like Bama where Tua and Hurts could run the same offense. These guys are completely different. I liked the more high-profile passing Georgia offense because I think that's where you need to go. And I think that's what kids want to play in. I think that's what Arch Manning wants to play in at Texas. All gas, no brakes. I think that's why he went to Texas, because he wants to play in an offense like we saw at Alabama, like Sark ran when he had those, Mac Jones. I think he sees himself more in that style of offense than in the current style of offense that we're seeing Georgia offense run. Now, I think Kirby can change it up, and I think this year you're going to see Kirby try to make a point of it, because I think Kirby wants to show everybody he can put a lot of points on the board. And, oh, by the way, he's going to need to put more points on the board because that defense lost 5 first-round picks. I don't even tell Alabama fans what it's like. Heck, Bama lost, 6 first-round picks, and they made it back to the title game? Georgia loses 5 and 15. It's going to be
Winning
tough.
the Southeastern Conference was Coach Saban had his best coaching job he ever did last year.
I thought he did too.
Yeah. But you said he needed to retire now.
I never said that. No, I did. I never said that.
What was that over?
I never said that.
You came on, what was it over before Georgia played a big game? You said Kirby's now the king.
He is the king right now.
But before he won the championship.
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought I called him Baby Bama. I thought Georgia was gonna take care of business. I was at the Iron Bowl, and that's when Bryce Young won my Heisman Trophy vote. I can say that now. It's over.
Yeah.
That's why he was my number one. 13 plays, 97 yards. 4 minutes. Overtime. And I've covered some Iron Bowls. Wes, you've been around a long time. That was one of that had to be the most impressive drive I've ever seen in that particular game, which to me is the greatest rivalry in college football. So I didn't think that Bama team that got shut out for 3 quarters was going to score 41 points on Georgia. So I will take the blame for that. I was wrong about that.
No, but I was just saying I'd have no problem you predicting the win. Most people have predicted the win. I thought Alabama had a chance because of the changes they made on the offensive line, which I'd been calling for since the beginning of the season.
Makes a difference. And Georgia, Georgia I think got caught asleep a little bit because, and again, Georgia fans get so mad at me when I say this, but I think the Georgia Tech game is just garbage. I just don't think it does you any good. It's so lopsided. All they do is try and submarine hurt players, fights break out. They'd been playing Charleston and Georgia Tech their last 2 games, and all of a sudden, this is what an SEC team looks like again. It's been a few weeks, guys.
And I've heard people say they were too conservative, this or that. Really, what happened in that game was a bunch of blown coverages, and Williams outrunning the coverage. When you got them double team and neither one can get there. I mean, they're just not physically able to get there.
Right.
I mean, that's what happened in that game.
He does that to you.
Yeah.
John Mechie was pretty good in the first half, too, at your third down guys. So, and you go back to the year before, and, you talk about last year's Georgia. Well, the defense before had 2 first-round corners with Eric Stokes and Campbell. What'd they throw for 500-some yards against Kirby? So I understand where Bama fans are coming from when they say if those receivers stay healthy.
Well,
I get it.
But they didn't. So,
but they didn't.
And you gotta play your guys, and to me, the game was lost on the drive Georgia had and scored a touchdown. I mean, although Alabama could have won it early with some if they catch the ball.
Well, I think Ajay Hall dropping inside the 3-play sequence. Ajay Hall drops pass inside the 5. Jalen Carter blocks the field goal. Cook goes 67 yards. That's when it spun for me. Albeit the leads changed twice more, but to me, that's when Georgia
got the confidence they needed to win the game.
I agree, Wes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Anyway, but what a game. My hat's off to Kirby and Georgia because they Alabama.
Right. They did.
They sit there and they fought the whole game and fought. Nothing. Had some things not go their way. Alabama's defense was taking it to them, and all of a sudden, the fourth quarter, they changed it. And that's where I see the change in Georgia.
Now, this is the first quarterback, Wes. I got to ask this question while you're on this point, Alabama. Did we see old Nick Saban, Alabama beat new Nick Saban, Alabama? Coker, the last quarterback to win a title that wasn't drafted. Are we seeing was that Kirby Smart, old school Alabama style with that style of offense and defense dominant, beating a new style Nick Saban team?
I don't think it's anything about dominance. I think what it was is it was a team that fought for 4 quarters and knew how to win for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. Whatever they did in the offseason, and I think Kirby hired some kind of psychologist to go over what their team goals should be in this. I think that helped because it's mental. When you get tired and you're getting whipped and all of a sudden you have 1 or 2 plays, like you say, go your way, and you feel the momentum change, well, you still got to sit there and keep from getting whipped, right? And I saw when they started running the traps and up the middle and found some – I saw the change that they needed to win the game. The other ones kept them in the game, in my opinion. Yeah, because I think Bryce Young's I call him ninja. He has eyes in the back of the head. Because even in the first game, you go back and look at that game, they had pressure on him. Heck, they had their arms around him twice. He throws a touchdown pass on one of them. I mean, he was just looking. He keeps his eyes downfield. Nobody ever hits him hard. I mean, poor Tua was so much fun to watch, but he'd get killed in every game. And you're like, oh, you could hear the air go out of everybody every time he got hit like that. And then, if he got up, the air would come back in everybody's lungs. I mean, you could feel it.
Yeah, you're playing him up 35 on Mississippi State in the first half. I'm still wondering about that coaching decision.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. So you're in the first half. Tua needs to get rid of the ball.
But wasn't he unhealthy going in? Wasn't the ankle not completely healthy still?
They're never 100%.
That's true. The point is, and your point is, and here's a question. It's valid. Stetson Bennett or Bryce Young. Neither one of these guys are big guys.
No,
both of these guys are one play away.
Yeah.
What does Bama have?
Everybody's one play away.
Yeah, but particularly, Bryce is, to me, I just think Bryce is. I think he's the whole heart and soul and the key to the team.
Well, no question. Defensively, I think they have a chance to be special next year if they come through at Alabama.
Corners, right? You got to get the corners playing.
Yeah, the corners. Even perfect pass beats perfect coverage every time. There's no pressure on that play on 2nd and 18. The corner had it covered. He just made a good throw, good play. That's going to happen. It's what you do next. I think stopping the run is the key. If Alabama can stop the run, their corners will come along. They got the best safeties we've had. Really,
Jordan Battle's awesome, man.
Yeah, we have a lot of depth. Alabama with number 13 and number 14. Malik, I don't know. 13 and 14, they both play safety and corner in the past. So there's just a lot of players. They have a lot of players.
I think
Georgia,
they're the favorite for a reason.
Yeah, I was talking to Steve and have talked in the last 2 weeks. The West has more talent. Now, I don't know how the teams are going to end up. Could you remember, you think Alabama, and then the rest are kind of, it's going to be a war to see who comes in last. There's a lot of talent on these teams.
You don't think it's Auburn?
To be second?
No, last.
No, I think they could be better than people think they are.
Yeah.
They got a good running back. The offensive line is all back, although people say, well, that's not good. But
tailback.
When you got 5th and 6th year guys playing on your offensive line, you got a good tailback. Have a Calzada who's won SEC games already. If everything falls, I think they might not be last. I don't think they're going to win the conference or anything.
No.
I don't
know if the coach is going to make it to the end of the year. They tried to get rid of him once.
Well, you can't. I can't comment on that because you never know what's going to happen down there. But I just think that it's possible that they're not last. They have talent. They have a bunch of talent that's been transferred in. We'll see how he goes. I think the guy's a good coach. He could have easily won 9 games last year.
Yeah, if he beats Alabama, we're not having this conversation.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But he didn't. If Dan Mullen beats Alabama, we're not having this conversation.
This is true.
2-point game. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did find it, I kind of smirked a little bit when Kirby said that we were downplaying the Georgia defense last year. If anything, we were overhyping that Georgia defense from last year.
Yeah, Kirby, these coaches, they live in their own world. Although I will say, Saban is just can't miss theater. I loved what he said, and I wrote it down. I think of things that Nick Saban says and try to apply them to my life. Success is not a continuum. Success is temporary. And you go, wow. The stuff he said a few years back about self-standard of excellence, you go, man, he nailed it. That's why Bryce Young's down there saying last year was a failure. Here's a Heisman Trophy winner that took a team in his first year as a starter that lost 6 first-round picks to the final play of the fourth quarter, and he's saying it was a failure because that's where his self-standard of excellence. There's Nick Saban's a lot about X's and O's. There's no doubt about it, and recruiting and recognizing talent. But from a philosophical standpoint, this cat's as good as it gets in any sport.
Pushes him. And I think Kirby's there right behind him. We'll see this year. How they can, if they can keep, because the biggest thing Georgia's fighting this year is themselves, the complacency, and that's what Kirby's fighting.
That's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
You got a lot of new starters there. I think it's, that inexperience. You like I said, you lose 15 starters, you lose 13 guys in the portal, 4 of them that were starters. Former starters. Georgia has so much attrition. 4 of your 10 staff members. That's a lot, Wes.
Yeah. But that has been every year for Alabama.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But for Georgia, it hasn't.
Yeah, I know it. But I think that's what I'm talking about. That's going to be his test.
I just don't know.
So what is your feeling? So who can beat Georgia on their schedule?
Well, I think there's 4 or 5 teams with a puncher's chance. I wouldn't sit here and predict any one team. I'm not going to say
anybody be favored against Georgia?
No, I don't think until they play Alabama. No, I think, but Oregon's got a puncher's chance because of Bo Nix and Dan Lanning, and South Carolina's got a puncher's chance because it's on the road, and we really don't know what Spencer Rattler is. I mean, heck, Georgia might win by 45, but what if Rattler's a player? What if South Carolina lights up? I mean, at home they can, I think that Kentucky with Will Levis. I mean, Kentucky played a really good first half last year and had a 22-play drive to end that game for touchdown. Will Levis is an NFL. It's in Lexington in November, cold weather. Will Rogers, Mississippi State, in November, Starkville Cowbells held Georgia to 8 yards rushing in Sanford Stadium. I mean, Mike Leach has got the sort of offense that can manipulate a secondary that's young and inexperienced. Maybe hasn't seen anything like that. So Tennessee and Hendon Hooker, I mean, this guy's got a huge ceiling. Hurry up offense, spread the field. Game is in Athens, though. But still, I mean, if the Vols get hot, they got to, you get in one of them score fests with these officials these days.
You never know.
You just never know.
That's true, yeah. Absolutely.
Pack your mustard.
Oh, wow, yeah. Man.
What kind of role does Arik Gilbert play on this team?
Yeah, we got a little preview of that in the spring game. They targeted him 4 times in the red zone. He caught 2 touchdown passes and drew 2 penalties. I mean, this cat is...
Well, yeah.
A matchup. I mean, this is where Georgia's got Bama. It got everybody. I don't know that we've ever seen... I'm going to say it. We haven't seen an offense that's got 4 tight ends that you could put on the field at one time, and that ain't no joke. That ain't that's ridiculous. No, because Brock Bowers isn't a real tight end. He runs like a receiver, and they got another kid named Oscar Delp.
See, I think Brock Bowers is the real deal.
Well, he was the most valuable player on last year's team.
Yeah.
You take him out, Georgia probably loses 2 games. I mean, he was the go-to guy. He made catches behind the head, over his head, diving down. I mean, he made a lot of bad throws.
Was he a 5-star coming out of?
He was, and he didn't even play his senior year because he had an injury. So, I mean, the guy's a throwback.
Where is he from?
Napa, California. He looks like he's the galloping ghost. He ought to be wearing high-top leather cleats out there. You just don't see that very often.
He looks good.
But to your point about Gilbert, I was asked earlier in kind of a rapid fire. Who's your SEC breakout? I'm gonna put him down there. I think I don't think Brock's gonna have as many catches because defenses are gonna play number 19 different. But this other guy, Brock, and you can't cover all these tight ends.
Let me tell you something. So. Alabama couldn't have covered any better than they did last year because he has covered on those plays.
10 catches, 139 yards. But here's the thing, Wes. You're trying to beat Alabama with the tight end. You give as many targets to your tight end as your receivers. I think that's a win for the defense. You're not throwing it to the most explosive. What did Jermaine Burton do against that? Do you even remember?
No, he didn't.
I'd say mission accomplished. Let me tell you, Jermaine Burton's a player now. He had 197 yards when he had a quarterback thrown to him there against Mississippi State.
What about Notre Dame? He had a good game in Notre Dame game.
Yeah, I mean, Jermaine's explosive. I mean, he's a great. What is that? The Y over there on the left side. He's not a Z. He's a Y. Gets behind you. Good.
Do you think he went to Alabama to become in his mind? He thought he'd be a higher draft pick.
Get more targets. I mean, Brock. You had to combine Georgia's top 2 wide receivers had about the same number of targets as Brock Bowers. And if you're a wide receiver, you need the ball in your hands.
Right.
And in Alabama, and that's where I wonder, Wes, and I could be wrong. Kirby's making a lot more than I am. Matter of fact, probably about to sign a 10 or 11, year contract for 110, 120 million. But this is where you wonder if Kirby can evolve like Nick did and let his offense play. Because I think you got to get these plays. I mean, I know it's just one player, and you can say maybe he's not really a 5, but Arch Manning said no to the national champions and yes to a 5-7 team with a shaky head coach. I mean, Stark's a great coordinator, but he lost to Kansas, okay? And the one thing Nick said yesterday that I would have barked back at is when someone asked him how he covered games, and he said fair and honest is the way to go, and then 2 seconds later he said Stark did a great job. Last year. He didn't. He did a terrible job.
Well, they're playing in the second game. That's why he said it.
Well, he can say whatever he wants, but that ain't honest.
Yeah, but
we'll have more with Mike Griffith on the other side here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.